Hi, I'm Jo Clark, and thanks so much for joining me today. This is the Redefining Midlife podcast, a podcast designed for the 40-plus woman who is determined to challenge society's myths and beliefs around midlife. It's for the woman who is inspired and ready to define midlife her way. Join me each week as I chat to health and wellness experts for up-to-date information on how to live well, as well as some special conversations with incredible everyday women redefining what midlife can look like. Here's to making our next half of life even better than the first. Hi, and welcome to today's episode. This is only going to be a short and sweet one, but as you'll hear shortly, it came from an experience I had recently. Now, today I'm going to explore the sometimes wild emotional ride that comes for so many women with perimenopause. One of the most common problems and questions I've had from women over the last 12 months is how to cope with mood swings. Now, like all things with this stage of life, there's a sliding scale of how people will experience this. And it's something that I personally went through this week, so it's all very fresh in my mind. Now, the other morning when I woke up, I knew things didn't feel quite right. It had been a while since I felt that low, so it took me by surprise. In fact, I felt completely sideswiped. For the last few years, since I've really focused on my self-care, I don't have too many low mood days. I'm usually fairly upbeat, but sometimes life throws a few things at you at the same time. I'd been feeling unwell with ongoing sinus issues for weeks, so I'd had bad headaches, going on to migraines, and I hadn't been sleeping as well as I usually do. Plus, my gynecologist had changed my medication just a few days earlier, so my hormones were just all over the place. Put the two together, and that's not a great combination. Now, in my role as a coach and mentor for women in this stage of life, I think it's important that I share my truth and experiences, that life isn't all rainbows and unicorns for me either. So I decided to post a couple of stories on Instagram throughout the day about what was going on with me, how I was feeling, and then I shared what I was going to do and started to do throughout the day to help me ride through the slow patch. Now, lots and lots of women sent me messages throughout the day and told me how much they appreciated me talking about this topic. Knowing that you aren't the only one going through similar experiences was not only a great reminder for me, but it also helped them. So I thought I'd share more about this topic of mood swings on the podcast today. So why do mood swings happen during perimenopause? Well, it's all due to the hormonal changes that are happening in your body. As your estrogen levels fluctuate, it can cause changes in your mood and emotions. So, you might be feeling irritable or anxious or sad for no apparent reason. These mood swings, unfortunately, can be unpredictable and can happen at any time, and that makes it difficult to manage your emotions. I'm sure many of you have found the emotional symptoms of menopause, including mood swings, can not only affect you, but they can also affect those around you. You might find it hard to concentrate at work, or maybe you have trouble maintaining relationships with friends and families. But you might also feel that you're not quite yourself. You could feel overwhelmed, but you can't quite explain why. And it can really impact your self-esteem and confidence. Added to that, those around you might not understand what you're going through, which can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness. I want to highlight the importance of being kind to yourself during these moments. Now, remember that mood swings are a normal part of the perimenopause process, so don't beat yourself up for feeling down in the dumps or being irritable. So instead, practice self-compassion and remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. Give yourself some TLC, whatever that might be for you. Now, one of my all-time favorite quotes comes from Zig Ziglar, and he says, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." And I really think the analogy of waves is a great one. And like your moods, they can be big, they can be small, they can be calm, or they can be choppy. I've learned a number of practices that help me on the days when the waves can feel like dumpsters. And these practices won't make things magically better, but they will help me ride the waves that little bit easier. And we know from research studies that these things work. But I'll be perfectly frank with you and honest. It's bloody hard to take it, and it takes effort to show up for yourself on those days when you feel like doing it the least. But for me, again, I've found that if I wake up feeling low and I implement my usual self-care practices at the start of the day, I feel better and I feel better for longer. But if I just choose to sit in bed or doing nothing to help myself throughout the day, I feel worse. So here are some of the things that I've found that works. Just get moving with exercise. I have to move. I find that walking in nature is a huge help for me. It's just the fresh air, listening to the birds and moving. Pop on some favorite music for yourself or listen to a podcast or audiobook. That might help you take your mind off how you're feeling as well when you go for a walk. Now, lots of women message me to say that they also love to go walking in nature when they feel low as well. So that's a pretty key one that was common for all of us. Sleep is also important. Staying up late watching sad movies on Netflix is probably not in your best interest. Just getting enough sleep and exercise can help reduce stress and improve your mood. And here's another tip. Even though you might feel like curling up in a ball and binging on chocolate or ice cream, fueling your body with wholesome, nutritious food is way more important. Have your treats by all means, but don't make those your meals. Drink more water, and if you can, don't reach for alcohol. It's actually a depressant, so it won't help your mood and it will interfere with your sleep. Just try to actively reduce your stress levels, and there are a few easy ways to do this. Now, I already meditate, so I just have to make sure that I don't miss my morning and evening meditations. I also like to close my eyes from time to time and just take some deep, slow breaths. That's great in particular when you're feeling way off. A gratitude practice is helpful, just to remind yourself that not everything is doom and gloom. I've tried journaling as well. Just getting some of those unhelpful thoughts onto paper and out of my head is very helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, walking in nature is fabulous, or just simply sitting outside in nature helps. It can just be those little lifestyle adjustments that can have a big impact on your mood. And it's also super helpful to let your loved ones know what's going on. Sharing your experience and feelings with them can help them understand what you're facing, and together you can weather that storm that bit better. Communication really is key. Don't forget to lean on your support system. So don't be shy to reach out for support. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, or even a support group of women going through the same journey. Sharing experiences and knowing you're not alone can make all the difference. If your mood swings change from being unmanageable or is in a continuous state for you, then it's really important to seek professional help. Now, that's a wrap for today's episode. I told you it was going to be a short and sweet one. So we've tackled the ups and downs of emotions that can happen in perimenopause, why they happen, how they can affect you and your loved ones, and I've shared some tips to help you sail or surf through those low mood days. Now, remember, perimenopause is a natural part of life. And while it might feel like a wild ride, you're not alone in this journey and it's not going to last forever. Now, if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the podcast for more episodes like this. And if you know somebody else who's going through those mood swings, share this episode with them as well. Because remember, together, it feels much better. When you're doing this alone, it's much harder. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.